Dear learners, today we discuss about open educational resources. Open educational resources are meant for those who have interest in learning some concept, but they don't have enough resources or time to learn the same. Especially this is more relevant in developing countries like India, where we have a lot of population and there is a lot of need for providing education to them. In this context, open education resources is a concept that was coined by some of the global forums like UNESCO in 2002, which has for the first time coined this term called OER, which stands for Open Education Resources. Some of the standard definitions given to OER, as you can see in this presentation, they basically cover teaching, learning and research resources that basically reside in a public domain with a kind of sharing mechanism which does not prohibit the user to learn the content or they use the content. And the way they use the content, that is again defined within this open educational resource policies. So generally they are basically meant for the free use and repurposing by others. And what do they contain? OER can contain the courses, full courses, the course materials, it can be modules, or it can be textbooks, or it can be streaming videos, or it can be tests, it can be software. So there is a whole gamut of resources which all form the open educational resources. Now it went on a lot of transition, that is the definition of the OER. As you see in this, the latest updated definition as you see here, basically it is again the same digital or otherwise kind of open material again which are residing in the public domain that permits no cost access, use, adaptation and redistribution by others with no or limited restrictions. So this entirely specifies how a particular content can be used and what kind of license is attached to the same. With this kind of backdrop, they have defined basically OER uses 5 R concepts. The 5 R activities, as you can see here, the first R refers to the retain. As you see here, the retain is the right to make and right to own, right to control the copies. And the second R refers to the reuse, that is when you take the content, you are allowed to use it for other purposes. Then the third R refers to revise, that means once you have the content from developed by others, you have the right to adopt the same or adjust the same, modify the same to suit your context. The fourth R refers to the remix. The remix means when you have an original content, this will empower you to add something more to it with probably other kind of content and produce another different type of material which is meant for some different purpose. The fifth one, that is the redistribute, will provide you the right to share the copies of the one that you have got from someone. So these are all R's, 5 R's as you can see here, they are nothing but the philosophies of OER. Now with this kind of updated definition of OER, what are the advantages? As you can see, the first is the quality of education will be improved because you have the content developed by some of the top-notch organizations in the world which you can straight away use. Number 2, it widens the participation in education. That means your classrooms are no longer the same. You have an undivided classrooms across the globe. Now the more people will participate in your courses because it's open education resources. The third one, very important thing, especially for developing countries like India, it saves the cost of the textbooks because all are downloadable. Any student who is interested in the textbooks, they can download it and they can use it. It also improves the performance of the student because now he has a round the clock access. And the faculty also is benefited because once they have the content, they need not spend more time on developing the content every time. So they have a readily available content which they can straight away use or repurpose for their context. And also it helps informal learners to build up confidence about the formal education. And then it also aids in the capacity building of the teachers and it enhances the institute's reputation because if more institutes join the open education resources, then the visibility will be increased. And the final thing is, it gives a social responsibility of a country. Like we all have right to education, this exactly fits the same kind of concept. It means education for all. Now there are various sources of OER, and let's see some of them. If you talk about open textbooks, you can get lot of textbooks from this OpenStax College or BC Open Textbooks project, CK12, like that. There are many numerous sites wherein you can download the textbooks. So this is very beneficial for the students. And then the open courseware, like the famous MIT courseware, which is a very first of its kind when it happened, and this is providing the content for all the students or all the teachers across the globe. People can get the benefit of being accessible to the courseware that has come from big institutes like MIT. And there are also repositories and referatories. There is also repositories and referatories like OER Commons, Merlot, and the Orange Grove repository. Basically they all provide the links to the open education resources. It's like providing a link to other links. And there are some directories also available which are actually aiding the open education resources. And beyond this, we also have many open courses available across the net, like some of the important things being MOOCs. We all talk about massive open online courses which are done by some of the top education technology companies like Coursera, Udemy, Udacity, edX, etc. Now with this, you can see that there are a lot of open education resources are available all over the world. Now let's have a look at some of them one by one. Some of the important open education resources, they include our own NPTEL, National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning, which is a joint initiative of IITs and IIScs way back in 2003, which actually started off as basically like a video development of the courses, mainly for the engineering streams, covering around 23 disciplines. In 2014, it expanded its horizon into providing certification courses from the kind of content that they have developed. As on 9/4/2019, that's when we accessed, there are around 113,450 e-certificates have been issued through this program, and there are 74,247 certifications are still in the process. Altogether, you can say that till now around 2 lakh certificates have been issued through this program. And coming to agriculture, there are some courses offered by IIT Kharagpur in agriculture engineering, and almost around 16 video courses are available in agriculture and its allied disciplines. So these are some of the screenshots of the NPTEL program. This is a very important initiative in India. Another important initiative from India is another one called as the National Digital Library, which is again started by one of the IITs, IIT Kharagpur, under the support of Ministry of Human Resource Development. And they have around 60 types of learning resources in more than 70 languages, and almost 25 million of material items are available under this. It is a repository of so many books, reports, manuals, articles, theses, manuscripts. So it is building day by day. So this is another important resource where students can get the benefit of accessing the material which are relevant to them. So these are some of the snapshots of the NDL homepage, wherein you can access the content that is pertinent to you. Another important initiative from India is the SWAYAM, which is basically a MOOC platform in Indian context, initiated by the Government of India, and it hosts many courses right from 9th class to the post graduation, and also it involves a lot of skill building courses, certification courses, and traditional programs like BA, BSc, etc. And it has a system of coordinators, like for example AICT is meant for taking care of self-paced education courses, NPTEL is exclusively meant for engineering programs, and UGC takes care of non-technical post-graduation programs, and CEC is meant for UG education. NCERT and NIOS, they are basically meant for school education and open education, and IGNOU is meant for out of school students, and IIMB is now taking care of management related aspects, and NITTR they are taking care of teacher training program related courses. All in all, the SWAYAM is going to embrace so many domains, providing open education to anyone who is interested. So these are some of the screenshots of the SWAYAM platform, and if you look into the history of MOOC, which we are now right now using, it has started way back in 2008 by one Dave Cormier of University of Prince Edward Island, who started, and then this is called at that time as one of the disruptive technologies, because it has changed the way we look at the education system as a whole. And it's meant for those for a large number of students, and with a 24/7 access, and it's best described as a free to browse and pay to use. That means the content is free, you can always access the content freely, but the moment you want some certification or a recognition out of it, then you may have to pay some nominal fee for getting a certificate. So basically what you have in the MOOCs, elements of MOOCs, as you can see here, the one is the course, that it is basically called as a course because some of the courses can be taken as credit courses and you can go for claiming your credits in some of the recognized universities. So once you take that course under MOOC in a particular university, maybe you can ask your university where you have registered to waive off those credits, so that you will have time to concentrate on other courses. The other important feature of MOOC is the openness, because it's open to anyone, whoever is interested. There is no boundaries saying that only a particular student can access the content. Whoever is having interest can access this one, because it's open and it's online. So it's always on the internet, you can access from anywhere and anytime. And then it's massive, because the classroom will be too big. It can runs into the thousands of students, because it contains the students from different parts of the world. So the number is massive. So the types of MOOCs, as you can see, the CMOOC and XMOOC. The first one is called connectivist philosophy, where the learners are connected to each other, and then XMOOC is basically a teacher centric methodology like the one that we have in traditional system. The entire thing is now translated into an online platform. As you see in the MOOCs by numbers, as you see here, this will show you as on December 2018 how many courses are available from different MOOCs partners. Coming to agriculture, ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, has e-Krishi Shiksha, which is the first of its kind, has produced e-courses for 406 subjects covering 7 disciplines, and as you can see in this snapshot, agriculture, veterinary, fisheries, dairy technology, agriculture engineering, home science and horticulture, they are all covered under this. All UG programs have been now having the e-course format, which can be downloaded from anywhere in the world. Coming to National Academy of Agriculture Research Management NAM, we have a program on postgraduate diploma on technology management in agriculture, which provides the education to management aspects in agriculture, which has started in 2008. Now it's a 10-year-old program having quite a good success. And also we have another program called IPTMA, Intellectual Property and Technology Management, which later on changed into TMA, that is called Technology Management in Agriculture. This is a distance education program. And very recently NARM has also launched Education Technology Management program in a distance mode, which has a support in both a traditional distance education format and also an online format, wherein you will have the courses in a video format too, like the one that you are watching right now. Beyond this, Indira Gandhi National Open University IGNOU is also having a vast network of distance education system, which is having around 21 schools of studies all over the country with 67 regional centers. And with this, today we have seen some of the open education resources initiatives in the country and also the world, and how they are going to impact our education system as a whole. I hope that this lecture has given you a kind of insight into what OER makes and where are these OERs available and how you can use them. Thank you.